announced the locations for the 2023 video game and TCG like championships for like regionals and stuff like that. And if we scroll down a little bit, you can see that the TCG is going to be absolutely fine, but VGC will have no events in the fall, with our event starting back up in January, which is not how it normally goes. Normally, the way that formats have gone in the past is, you know, October through December, we would just play whatever regionals happen to be with the leftover rules. So we'd be using like Series 12 or Series 13. That's not the case this time. We're just not having events. There's still regionals happening. All of these regionals right here are still happening, but they just don't have VGC, right? It's just crazy how like Salt Lake City, I would have went to that. There's no regional. I mean, there's no VGC. It's crazy. You can see that these are some of the locations. So like Baltimore, Salt Lake, Toronto, Arlington. Those are all just gonna have TCG and Pokemon Go events, and they're not gonna have VGC. And then once the format switches over in January, we will start getting VGC regional. So the first one's gonna be in San Diego. I'm probably gonna be going to that. That's January 6th through 8th. Then there's Florida. Florida got canceled last year, so it's good to see Florida get a regional back February 3rd through 5th. Then February 26th. Sorry, it's February 24th to 26th in Knoxville. I love this venue. There's 3 big hotels right next to the venue. Venue itself is nice. There's places to eat. There's like 3 or 4 places to eat next to it. It's not too far from the airport as well. You can just Uber there. So this is a great regional. I'd love to go back to Knoxville, so I'd highly recommend checking this one out if you're anywhere near it. It's really, really well run in my opinion. March is Vancouver, so that's Canada's regional. March 24th to 26th is going to be Charlotte. I know a lot of people really like this regional. I've never been to this one, but it basically is here every other year. So it's a good regional, I would say. Portland, I've been there a few times. I've done pretty well in Portland. I've got top cut once, and good regional. I might go to this one, maybe. Hartford is the next one, May 19th through 21st. Don't think I'll go to that one, but again, it's another popular regional that comes back every year or two, so good stuff. Probably, I think that's run by Top Cut events. And last but not least, for regionals, we have Wisconsin, which, you know, we just had Wisconsin last June as well. So it looks like it's like the same weekend, same venue. I'm probably going to try and go back to this one. So this is really cool. I think there are 4 regionals I'm excited to go to. San Diego, maybe Knoxville, definitely Portland, and Wisconsin. So normally I only want to go to like 1 or 2, but this one I have like 4 I might go to. So it's kind of cool. And I would highly encourage people to look into this stuff. And if you're actually serious about VGC, think about going to these. It does kind of suck, though, that we don't have any events from, like, until the 1st. That's kind of ridiculous. It's never happened before. Let's see. So far, it feels like the community is pretty split about this. A lot of people are happy that Series 13 won't be a real tournament format, or that new circle starts with new games. I think that, like, most people think that it's probably a good thing that Series 13 is not going to get a format, but then, like, the problem with that is, it's like, what is the point of literally even turning the game on? There's no point to ever turn on Sword and Shield ever again. Am I wrong? Like, think about it. Worlds is Series 12. We're in Series 13, right? The next format will not have Dynamax, it will not have Mythicals, and it will only have the Legendaries that are applicable in those games. And it won't probably even allow the good ones. Like, you won't be able to use the Ubers or of whatever in this next game. So all the things you're learning from this format, look at the team we're using today. All the things we're learning in this format, these 5 legendaries plus a Tailwind setter that Tailwind might not even work that way next gen. Whimsicott might not even be in the game. Like, the things you're learning in this format are teaching you to rely on the power creep that game will not have. This is like playing with a crutch. This is potentially building bad habits playing this format, right? So that's what I'm trying to say is, like, I don't even know if turning the game on is worth it anymore. Because, like, realistically, you could be practicing things that we know will work. You know, setting up different Trick Room options without relying on NDD. So that would be like going back to like BDSP and playing like BDSP VGC without Smeargle maybe. You know, working on like Fake Out, Redirection, Trick Room, little bit of Tailwind, no big gimmicks involved there. You know, stuff like that might be a better use of your time. Or playing singles, or literally playing like anything else that can expand your knowledge instead of forcing you to rely on a crutch that will not be there in the next format. Just my opinion. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, fun ain't what this is about. You know, like, if we're practicing for regionals, like, you're on a very strict time limit, right? We're on a very, very strict time limit. Like, the game comes out, right? The game comes out at the end of November, so, like, right around here. And we have, like, a month to practice for a regional in San Diego. For people that expect to do well with these things, as someone who's top cut 3 regionals once a new game starts, like I top cut the first regional once a new game starts, a new gen, I'm gonna probably do well at this if I want to allocate my time to do that correctly. So like there's no time for fun, you know. So it's hard. So I don't know. It was just my observations here. I think that this is a pretty balanced spread of how regionals are, and the times that they're spread around is actually really nice. I think the one thing that's missing here is that there's no NorCal regional, and there's always been a NorCal regional every single year going back to I think the start of VGC. I don't think there's ever been a season where we have not gotten a Northern California regional. That makes me think that like realistically we might be getting like a Worlds in NorCal. I know it sounds weird, but like we even had a NorCal regional the year we had Worlds in NorCal. Can I share the link? Yeah. It's right there. But yeah, I think that we might get a NorCal regional. We've had one every year for at least 10 years. And yes, there's a SoCal regional, but California's big enough to have 2. Like West Coast gets, you can't just give the West Coast like 2 events and just call it. You can't be like, yeah, you get San Diego and Portland and just like get screwed for the rest of the season. Like that's not fair. Like there's so many people on the West Coast, you know? But they don't have VGC though for like the first half of the season. It's crazy. You know what though? This is what they needed to do. This is smart. Everyone's like, oh, no events for the first half of the season. You know why this is smart? There's something that the high-level players called the snowball. And the snowball is a thing that says if you're in the top 8 or maybe 16 for your age division, juniors, seniors, and masters, and in top 8 in like circuit points, you get flown to all these like big internationals, right? You get flown for like a stipend, so you get like paid to go to them, and it's a decent amount of money. And then when you go to them, even if you get like top 128 or whatever points you get, if you get any points at all, you're getting points that players that can't pay the thousands and thousands of dollars out of pocket to go to. Which means if you get flown to this for free, if you do even okay, you're going to get points, and you're going to continue to expand your lead on people that can only play in their own countries. So you're snowballing ahead of them. It's like a snowball rolling down a hill. You're getting more points and more points and more points and widening that gap. And so one thing that a lot of players like to do is they'll snowball from Worlds into like going to all these regionals, dominating, because they already qualify for Worlds or already like a Worlds level player. They'll use their Worlds teams at all these tournaments that would normally be using the same format as Worlds, and they'll continue that snowball into the next season and then make it so they can just continually get more invites to all these internationals and stuff like that. This forces those players to have to take just a little bit of a step back and have to learn the format on the same playing field as everyone else. So I think it's a good idea for them to do that, because it levels the playing field at least a little bit, in my opinion. So I understand the reasoning. I think that's why they're doing it, is to level out the snowball just a little bit. How are they going to do internationals as well as regionals VGC if they're doing them ahead of the other games? They're not, because there's no VGC regionals at these tournaments. The tournaments start, for VGC, the events start in January. The game comes out in November. Yeah, these are all Scarlet Violet. These are not Sword and Shield. And you can see, like, this is Latin America, but there's no VGC here, right? There's no Latin American internats, right? The first one's going to be in February, and it's going to be in Australia. So, yeah, I think this is probably an attempt to stop the snowball from VGC, which, like, realistically, the same players have been on the same snowball since, like, they started it all back when they switched this up in, like, 2016. So I think it's probably a good thing overall, but, you know, it is what it is. And I just wish Salt Lake had a VGC tournament, that's all, because I would go to that one. How early should you sign up ahead of time for those events? Well, the thing is, it's like, you can't just sign up. Like, there's no links for this. So they'll send out the notifications when they can, but, like, there's no signups yet at all. We just have locations. So, like, what you could be doing if you wanted to get a head start on it, you could be booking your flights now. I already looked up, like, flights. Like, this was, like, $114 flight to this one. This was, like, $160 to this one. This one was, like, $600. The Knoxville one was, like, $600 for me. Portland was, like, less than $150. Yo, thank you for the sub. Appreciate it. Maybe we have to make a sub goal so I can go to more regionals. Yo, thank you for the sub. Appreciate it, my friend. Let's put some subs up. Big subs. Thank you. And this one was like 700. Last year when I went to Wisconsin, it was not that expensive, but this one was like 700. So, yeah, and like I'm not going to any of the European ones. I don't plan on going to the Latin America ones. Like realistically, I can get a World's Invite off like 3. I can get a World's Invite off 3 regionals, I think. I just felt I wanted to talk about it because I see so many people that don't know that these regionals are even happening. They're like, what? There's a regional down the street from my house. I had no idea. So it's like, you would think that, like, I know Zhang like made a tweet saying like, hey, regionals are here. I think like James Beck made a post like regionals are here. I don't know if Wolf did, but like it's up to the content creators to like make a video about this and say like, hey, go to these, you know? It's like you gotta go to them. It's pretty important. And then like be there to answer questions as the people who've gone to them before, like, and tell people what venues are good. Like I said, I've been to this regional location. I've been to this regional location, 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 and I've been to, I've been to this regional location, I've been to this regional location. So like I would have info and say like, I would know where you can get lunch, I would know where there is to park, I would know some good hotels in the area. And so like I feel that that's the big thing that's keeping people out of events is the uncertainty. They don't know how to get there, they don't know how to sign up, they don't know when, where, what the rules are going to be. They don't know anything like that. And I think that like, as content creators who have gone to these, people on YouTube should be making more of an effort, right? Right? Am I wrong? Like, if I were to make a video, like I'm not going to do it because like that's too much work, but just like hypothetically, like, and I were to say like, okay, for this regional right here, San Diego Convention Center, it's going to be at these dates. You can get your flights here for like these, depending where you're coming from. These are the days you should show up. This is how like day 1's gonna go, day 2's gonna go, day 3's gonna go. This is what you're gonna need to do as far as like COVID / like wearing masks, bringing like your vax cards, and just break down for every single one of them like everything you need to know to go to a regional for like your first time. Like that's exactly what YouTube needs, in my opinion. Right? I think that's true. How do I word it? Like if we think about content creators for VGC, you got like Wolf, Zhang, me, Moxie Boosted, James Beck. I would say we're the big ones. We'll put Osiris there, but he mostly goes to like European events. But like we're the 5 people that make like mostly consistent VGC content. Yeah, you got people like Neil and like Cloverbells, and those are like the new age people, right? But in terms of like people that have gone to regionals before, I don't think those two have gone to regionals. Like we're the ones that have actually been to the events. And usually because we're the people that go to events and usually do well or have done well in the past, so we just don't have the time, right, to go and like make all these videos telling people how to do it because like we have to focus on us doing well. Like I was talking a little bit about it a little bit earlier, like this event in San Diego, this is January 6th. We've had the game a month. So we have to like work on getting our teams, making sure everything's exactly how we want it so we can do well, so we can continue to make content based off of growing our platforms that said regionals. Like if you take a look at like any other year, I don't think that like content creators actually do a good job of fostering the new players. They kind of just be like, hope to see you there, and that's it, you know? Me, I want to go to these events to compete, but mostly to learn more about VGC and meet new people who share the same goals. Yeah, that's the fun part. I think that's the fun part is like going to regionals and just like hanging out with people. I will say, speaking of people that like also get the pass on like the 6 Poke Sports, they go to regionals too, and we're using one of their teams today, so they also count. But I do think this team's gonna be fun. Like if we can get one Techno Blast off, that'll be hilarious. I'm pretty sure that if we're in max mode with Genesect, the Techno Blast turns into like a water if it's raining. So that's sick. So hopefully it works. Another thing about regionals, I just want to talk about this, right? This is before we get into these games. So Diamond Dude says the one they could go to is in May in Connecticut. This is something that I struggled with when in 2019 that I didn't realize was a thing until like a little bit into the 2020 season, which got cut short in COVID. Let's share this page again. Right? Do you guys remember 2019? There was the Sun, Moon, and Ultra series. Right? Sun, Moon, and Ultra series. Sun series went from like October to December. Moon series went from December till like March, and Ultra series went from like the end of March all the way into Worlds. Now the issue with that is, if I'm someone who can only go to a tournament in May, how do I practice for what May's series would be, right? Which would be the Ultra series. right? If you could only go to a tournament that's all the way down here, like, you know, it's all the way down here, but you're all the way up here, how do you practice for that? Like, there's absolutely no reason to practice all these other formats because you're literally going to be building bad habits. Like, you don't need to know those things. You need to know the things that you need to know. And so that was a big problem with that format, was like a lot of players just stopped playing because they're like, oh, well, the one regional that I want to play isn't even out yet and doesn't come out for like 6 months. I'm not going to play until then. Also, going into the 2020 season, we had like, it started with Series 1, and then like right after that, they got cut off. Like the, you know, COVID shut everything down. But, you know, we had consistent updates over the year. We saw them in the Players' Cups. We had Series 1, we had Series 2, we had Series 3, which was like the introduction of like G-Max Lapras, which completely changed the game. And then like Series 5 in like the like Isle of Armor with Urshifu and G-Max Blastoise and Venusaur that, again, completely changed the game. Like, imagine you're going to these dates for these tournaments, right? Someone said they can only go to one in May. So if you're going to go to one in May, the format will not look anything at all like what the game's going to look like when it comes out in November. It's going to be completely new stuff because they're patching these things in. They're changing the format every single month, it seems. So stuff you're working on in November totally won't be the meta and won't be worth working on or improving or like fine-tuning because you have to wait to like learn a format that's not going to be a part of what you're learning in November. Does that make sense? And if you're someone that's like, that doesn't bother you and you just want to learn at your own pace, kudos to you. Like, I wish I had that sort of like dedication to like hone a skill that I know won't give me anything out of it. But for me personally, that would like crush me if I like worked my ass off to like learn everything there was to know in November and December, and then like the season starts and like I had the exact call for stuff in January, even though I'm not going to the tournaments, and then like February they changed the format completely. Everything I practiced was useless, and even if I do my best to like learn everything in February and March, they're gonna change it at the end of March or the middle of April or something like that, and then they hit me again on May, right? That would crush me. And you know why I say that would crush me is because like freaking YouTube and TPCI pull that shit out from the rug out from under me every single time they make a new series. Like, I've seen this happen to me so many times. It sucks, right? The experience from learning earlier formats will still likely help you with the later formats. That's yes and no, right? Case in point would be Lilycole in 2017. Lilycole was figured out relatively early on as a really, really good team in the format, relatively early on in 2017. And you could actually play Lilycole, like the whole format. And what players kind of realized is Lilycole was one of those teams that could make like a bad player a little bit better, get them a little bit better results than they might have had otherwise. And it wasn't that hard to play. You just kind of had to hit a sleep powder, right? It was an RNG team. And so players that leaned in that Lilycole a little bit too much ended up not having like the right type of matchup knowledge and like meta knowledge that like other players that were playing, you know, different teams and learning everything might have had. So that's what I'm saying. Like, if you do everything required, which is like really polishing a team in like, you know, November, December, January, and they change the format and you only really know how to play one team, like, what was the point? You just wasted all your time, you know? That's my opinion. You know, I think that like making a team good and learning the meta are two different things. And most people don't know how to just practice the meta. Most people only know how to practice the meta through the lens of the team that they're playing. And that's something you can only know if you've become a one-hit wonder, you know what I'm talking about, right? As someone who's like has struggled with that, like for only being able to perform with very specific teams and specific metas and having to like branch out and learn everything until you understand how to actually practice, you know, it's rough. Like, compare it to someone, maybe you guys have heard this analogy before, but like someone there are two types of like students that are like good at studying, good at like learning and absorbing knowledge, and students that are good at taking tests, right? The students that are good at taking tests understand how to answer, they're resourceful, they understand how to answer questions that are put in front of them based off the, you know, resources that they've gathered. But students that are good at studying do their very best to study everything so they can, you know, give the correct answer in a more wider variety of situations. So, you don't want to be the person that's like having to, you know, be in the middle ground of each of those and not have the skills to be a good test taker and not have the skills to be a good studier. You don't want to not go either way because you don't have the skills to do either. You want to like, I don't even fucking know, man. It's a bad analogy, but that's how I see it. Like, luckily I'm someone that I'm someone who's good at taking tests. I'm good at doing interviews, stuff like that. But also, I've had to go back and teach myself the skills to learn how to practice correctly. Gotta finish up work, how to drop a sub for professional Pokemon player, THATSAplusONE. Yo, thank you so much. I appreciate the sub, friend. It definitely does mean a lot, especially since I gotta drop like 2K on regionals this season. So thank you. I'll put some subs up. Bam. That's me in Series 12. I can only ladder with one team. When I try to use other teams, I have a huge learning curve on win cons and leads. Yeah, like, you're looking at this disaster of announcement. We're looking at it. We're not. It's not. I don't think it's a disaster. I think there are definitely good and bad things about it. I think there are definitely good and bad things about it. I think there's a lot more good here than bad, because in previous formats, stuff like this, where let's say where there was regionals up here, that would be something that like newer players that are trying to get into the game, that's always been a turnoff for newer players. Like for example, the game comes out in November, but then like the first regional after the game comes out would be the old format. It would be, because it wouldn't have rolled over till the first. And that's something that I've seen a lot of players like struggle with. They're like, why is the regional for the old game? You know, they don't understand that. And they're like, why are they playing the old one? Is the new one not good? And then like it just creates more confusion. Like just making it just start in January 1st for a newer player that's like looking at this info for the first time, it's probably a good thing, you know? You're not gonna be able to try for Worlds my school schedule. It happens. You know, it's hard managing that sort of stuff. Like when I've qualified in the past, like I was luckily done with college, but like, you know, I had to work a full-time job, you know, so I completely get it. But yeah, I think a lot of players don't understand how to actually like practice correctly. Like I've talked about this on Patreon before. Whenever you're like practicing to like develop your skills as a player, you should be playing with like a different team every single day. For a certain amount of wins, you should try to get a certain amount of win rate, and you should be like actively seeking teams that give you problems to build, to use, stuff like that, so you can understand why each team's win condition works as it does. And you should, you know, try to make sure that you're doing things correctly when you're leading, make sure that you're analyzing your opponent's leads, and then from there, you want to have like there's a lot more like note-taking and like analytical stuff involved than just like herp-derping around the ladder. If anything, like what happens in the actual games don't matter as much as the fact that you're like going through the motions to understand what you need to be doing to win with every single team to suit its win cons.